later the same day as my last video, same shirt, hair in a ponytail instead. Because I filmed that little outro today and uploaded and did all that, I was like, hey, let's go ahead and record another video, I guess. So that's what I'm doing here. So pretty much I'm just going to talk about the books that I have read recently or read so far this year and see what happens. So I'm actually going to start with a book that I read right at the end of 2020, and I finished it like right before the year change, but I want to talk about it because I love it and because it's a part of a little bit of a collection I have going. So the first book that I read was Seven Devils by Elizabeth May and Laura Lamb. So this is the ARC version, which is signed by one of the authors, Elizabeth May. Not sure if you heard that, but yeah, it's signed, so I have that. I also have the American version, which is not signed, I don't believe. If I could open this, that would be great. No, so this one is not signed, but as you can see, the ARC is a paperback and it's gorgeous, and the hardback is gorgeous as well. But I also have the UK edition, which is also another gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And this one is signed by both, and it's personalized to me. So I support both of these authors on Patreon, and so that's how I was able to get all of these, and I'm very excited. Unfortunately, I missed their Illumicrate box by like 2 hours. So I'm really sad. I hope that one day I will be able to get the Illumicrate edition of this book. So if any of you out there have it and you don't want it, please let me know. I would love it for my collection. But basically that one is the UK cover, but it's in purpley pink instead of this kind of blue-green. And it has sprayed edges, which I think are kind of purpley. So tops of my list for books that I want to add to my collection is the Illumicrate Seven Devils. So if you have it, let me know if you don't want it, please. Okay, cool. So now going on to 2021, what I have read. The first book of the year I read was The Girls Ive Been by Tess Sharp, and if you've never read a Tess Sharp book, you are missing out. So this is a young adult novel, and basically our main character is Nora. Nora was raised by a con artist mother, and Nora has been many different people throughout her life based on the different cons that her mother has put her through. So this book follows Nora after her mom is out of the picture, and her current girlfriend and her ex-boyfriend are in a bank when it ends up being robbed. So this is like a 12-hour story basically that happens in this book that covers from when they arrive at the bank to hopefully when they get out. So this was awesome. Highly recommend it. If you've never read a Tess Sharp book, pick it up. It's amazing. She also has Barbed Wire Heart, which is an adult novel as well. And I've spoken about this one, I think, on this channel. If I haven't, one day I'll fix that. But The Girls Ive Been by Tess Sharp. Check it out. Love it so much. So the next book I read was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And I loved this book. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't terribly fast-paced, and so for a book that's this chunky, it was a little slower for me to get to, and it took me a little while to get into it, and then if I would put it down and pick it back up, it would take me a little while to get back into it. But basically, it's a world where magic was was taken away, and our main character now has the ability to give magic back to people who can wield magic. So this is a trilogy, I believe. I do have the second one, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I think, ready to go at some point. But because this one was a little bit slower for my taste, it will probably be a little bit of time before I actually get to that second one. But really enjoyed it. Solid story, lots of world building, very visual. Pick it up. Plus, it's gorgeous. That cover is incredible. So, next thing I read is Goldilocks by Laura Lamb. So the reason I have two of these, again, I support this author on Patreon. She's one of the authors who wrote Seven Devils. So this is her newest book, and she launched it right as the pandemic was starting last year, and there is, oddly enough, a very slight plot point about a pandemic that largely does not affect children. So her Twitter, as all of this was happening, she was trying to promote the book, and like the pandemic started happening and we found out that like kids are less affected. This poor woman, she saw what was coming and she wrote a book about it. So again, the pandemic plot point is very small, very minor, but it is kind of a trigger warning if you're still dealing with that or if it's affected you more closely. That was why I couldn't really pick it up until 2021. I needed some space. And I knew that there was a pandemic plot point in here, but once I read it, I was able to find out that it comes in later. It's not a huge plot point, but it is there, and it's really interesting that it was there. So I think one of these is signed. I'm just not sure which one. Let me double check. I could be correct. Aha, no. So I do have a signed copy to me, and I also got a little piece of paper with a nice little message on it, which is just so lovely, and I love it. So this follows the first all-woman space shuttle mission, basically, and they are trying to get to a planet in the Goldilocks zone. I can't remember the name of the planet right now, of course. But it's really good. It's really interesting. All of the science-y pieces in here they didn't take me out of the story. They put me more into the story because it was so well researched. And the way it's spoken about is not in like such a high level way that you don't feel like you can get it. So if you like space, if you want to hang out with, I think four women going into space, I would say highly recommend picking this up. Just again, remember there is a small pandemic plot point which hits a little close to home right now, so be careful. But again, it's a small plot point. I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. So the next one I read, if you follow me on Goodreads, you will know that I've been reading this book since 2019. So what's funny is that, like, you saw Children of Blood and Bone, like, that's like 400 or 500 page book. This book took me like 2 years to read, and it's my own damn fault. But this is kind of hard to do there. Unsold by Will White, and this is I think it's a long-running series. Like, I think there are just multiple books out, and Will White isn't done writing them yet. But this was given to me by a friend, and so when 2021 came, I was like, dude, I need to finish this book, so eventually, when we're allowed to see people again, I can give it back. But it was really, really fun, even though, like, in 2019, I stopped reading it with about, like, 70 pages left. I had zero reason to stop reading it. Like, I was super into it. But basically what's going on is that every person in these communities, once they get to a certain age, they go through a ceremony that tells them, like, what kind of magic are they going to wield, what path are they going to follow. So our main character is not given a specific path, and so he is called an Unsold. Like, if you don't have a magic path to walk, you don't have a soul. And so usually those people's futures are kind of written for them. There's not a whole lot they can really do. Obviously our main character turns that on its head a little bit. And honestly, like, those last 70 pages, I'm kind of glad I waited for them. Not for any good reason, but definitely those last 70 pages were worth the wait. So, loved it. Check it out if that sounds at all interesting. Yeah. So I'm not great at talking about books, if you've realized that. So the last book that I have completed this year is one that you've probably heard of, because everybody has been talking about it, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. In my case, I loved this book. House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. So this is a adult fantasy novel, but instead of, you know, like Brandon Sanderson or Priory of the Orange Tree, like, it's not a huge chunker of a book, and it's as far as I know, it's not a duology or a sequel or anything like that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Seven Devils is a duology. The second book will be out this year? I don't remember. But yeah, so House in the Cerulean Sea is an adult fantasy novel, but there are a lot of, like, YA books that will bridge YA readers into adult fantasy, and this one has been described as kind of a middle grade fantasy that bridges to adult. So I know it's kind of weird, but basically the character that we follow works in the Care for Magical Youth Orphanage department. I can't remember what it's called, but basically he has a 9-to-5 magical ministry government job thing, and he goes to different magical orphanages and makes sure that the kids are being taken care of appropriately and that kind of stuff. So this follows him going to a specific orphanage and the people he encounters there. It's a really feel-good, lovely story. The audiobook was incredible. I read this kind of half audiobook, half physical, and either way, it's awesome. The audiobook, like, they do a lot of different character voices, and that they made me giggle. This whole book made me giggle. One of the last nights I was reading it, I had all of my cats around me, which is too many. Never too many, but also a little too many. All my cats around me, and I was just busting up laughing constantly. And it's not often that an adult fantasy novel is going to make me do that. It's not often an adult fantasy novel will make me feel this squishy, and I felt squishy, and I loved this book so much. It has a weird comfy place in my heart, I think. So if you need a comfy read but you don't want to do YA, you don't want to do middle grade, read it. Freaking read it. Just do it. Just do the thing, because it's so good. Okay, so that was all the books that I read so far in 2021. It's not 2020 anymore, thank God. And right now, the book I am reading, and I am about that far, well, the end is this side. So I'm just about done with it, and that is The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci. This one I tried to start reading back in 2018. I got like 20 pages in and I just wasn't there. I picked it up again this year, and by the time I got 100 pages in, I was like, good fucking Lord. Jenna, are you okay? Like, are you okay? So this is a adult fantasy novel as well. Basically what we're doing is our main character enters the Savior's Champion, or these Savior's Championship, Savior's Tournament. It's been a long day already. So our main character enters the Savior's Tournament, and what this is that once a king and queen's daughter comes of age to be married, there is a tournament that's held for a month, and like all of the eligible men in the kingdom may sign up and compete in a whole bunch of different trials, whether that be mind trials, physical trials, whatever. And last one standing is basically the one who gets to marry the princess, I guess. The savior is what they always call her. So the one left standing gets to marry them and also become the next king. So this is gruesome and vulgar as fuck. So if you have any problem with gore, there's definitely a lot of sexualization of women in here, and there's some pretty trash people in here, so be aware of that. And because it is a nice chunky book, I think this one's like 560 some pages, there's a lot of asshats, and there's a lot of really shitty conversation. Not because it was written shittily, but because it's just shitty. Men are gross. We know this. So that's what I'm reading right now. I'm still decently into it. The fact that that's a really heavy book. I'm gonna put it down. The fact that the tournament goes on for 30 days is a lot. And I've read a lot of reviews that basically say this book could be like 150 pages shorter. So, because I still, what am I on? I'm on a little bit after page 400 after, 560 something. So I have about 150 pages more to go or so. I have a feeling that this last little bit, because we've already had so much time in this tournament and it's still going, I'm just like, what are those last 150 pages gonna have, and will I enjoy it? So I'm hoping I will. Yeah, I haven't put all my thoughts together about this book, obviously, because I'm still reading it and figuring it out, but if you want to try it, I would say at least get to page 100. And if the book isn't for you, by 100, you will know it. So, yeah, again, it's gory, it's vulgar, it's, yeah. But that is what I have read so far, what I'm working on reading. And actually, I forgot one book, and my phone is over there charging, so I am just going to look it up, because I listened to this one on audiobook. Where is my Goodreads? There we go. Let me get this one. It was a Audible original, or it was just included in my Audible subscription, so let me grab that one for you. Where? Oh, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Where am I going? Come on. Sorry, this isn't a very fun part of the video. There it is. Okay, what are you called? So I read Life Ever After by Carla Grauls, Grauls. So this was really short, but basically it's the two main characters are speaking to each other in a lot of times, and they are going in for technical enhancements to themselves. And every time they meet to get new enhancements, they go to the same place at the same time, their appointment is at the same time or whatever. They talk about the upgrades and how they feel about them and how it helps or hinders their life. And so the story kind of goes through a number of years in their tech upgrades or downgrade story. I read one review when I was done that basically was like, this book is pretty much these two people arguing back and forth the whole book. And while I don't think that's inaccurate, the way that they argue and the different points that each of them bring up at the different parts of the story are really interesting. And there were a few points that, like, I had to make a mark because I like how they said something or whatever. So this one, it's a quick listen. Like I said, it's on Audible. I'm not even sure actually if it even has a physical edition, but that could just be my own silliness. Yeah, so it's only on Audible. But if you want kind of a quick story to go through, and if you're interested in like humans getting technical implants to make their body better or life better or whatever, I would say definitely check it out. So again, that one is called Life Ever After by Carla Grauls, Grauls. So that's kind of where I am, what I've been doing. Yeah, I don't really have much more, but hopefully I will keep reading and maybe keep updating. And please, oh please, oh please, oh please, if anyone has the Illumicrate edition of Seven Devils and you don't want it, please let me know. Please let me know. I would love to purchase that off you, or whatever. So that's my update. I hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe, and yeah, let me know what you're reading, if you've read any of these, if any of them sound interesting, what your thoughts are. And that's all I got. I have a really strong finish, as you can see. So yeah, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon, I guess. Bye, guys.